16 military-grade guns, 1 encrypted phone, a plan to permanently disable a rival with a corrosive substance. That's the world investigators uncovered when they unmasked a Warrington man known online only as Ace Prospect. His real name, Philip Waugh. He's now serving 26 years and 8 months. He wasn't offering curios or collectibles. He was advertising assault rifles, submachine guns, and handguns, plus hundreds of rounds to feed them. The kind of kit you associate with conflict zones, not with a chat room on an encrypted device. Buyers across the UK were reading a menu. Waugh was taking orders. He kept his operation simple. From abroad, he sourced and arranged shipments. Inside the UK, a trusted quartermaster named Robert Brazendale moved the stock, arranged handovers and handled payments. Messages went out like a newsletter. New arrivals, prices, bundles with ammunition. It felt like e-commerce. The product was firepower. The conversations were about more than sales. They revealed intent. In one exchange, Waugh hired an enforcer linked to a Liverpool group to target a man in Warrington with a corrosive substance. He discussed payment, insisted on a lasting injury, and even suggested steps to prevent the target getting quick help. It wasn't bluster. A date was set. Officers intervened before anything happened. The breakthrough for investigators came when an international operation penetrated the encrypted platform. For months, the man behind Ace Prospect was just a handle. Once the network fell, the messages mapped out a supply chain. On one April weekend, Waugh told customers a shipment was imminent. The next day, he circulated a full list, makes, models, and price tags. Within a week, he broadcast that 10 firearms with ammunition had successfully arrived and were available. Demand spiked immediately. Quartermasters make pipelines work. In Britain, that was Brazendale's role. He was the contact who could turn a text into a handover, often in nondescript car parks and quiet streets. His job was logistics: collect, store, deliver, and get paid. It took the distance out of Waugh's offers and placed the weapons within reach of buyers who wanted them for intimidation, enforcement, or worse. Waugh himself stayed mobile. He spent time in Thailand, then moved to Spain, where he rented a villa near Malaga and kept using encrypted phones. Distance didn't help when agencies compared notes. In September last year, Spanish officers and UK investigators converged on the villa. The door opened, and the anonymous username finally had a face and a passport. Waugh was extradited to England and charged. In court, prosecutors explained how a text list became real-world harm. The weapons advertised, 2 AK pattern rifles, a Skorpion machine pistol, an Uzi-type submachine gun, several semi-automatic pistols, didn't stay in boxes. They appeared in investigations into shootings around the UK. The sale messages were matched with later incidents. The chain from phone to street was visible. At the same time, the corrosive substance plot sat there in plain words. Waugh pressed the enforcer to go through with it, discussed higher payment for a more devastating outcome, and kept returning to the plan for weeks. The attack never happened because officers acted, but the intent was clear. It wasn't a passing remark, it was a job order that was halted mid-route. His defense accepted the messages but argued he wasn't at the very top of the hierarchy and that he had personal difficulties at the time. The judge weighed it and set out the scale. Over a year and a half, at least 16 prohibited firearms were imported or handled through his network. The trade was commercial, sustained, and fully aware of its risks. The court also took into account the planned serious assault. The result was a sentence that stretches into decades, with an extended license because of the ongoing risk. Brazendale faced his own reckoning. Already serving time from an earlier case connected to this network, he admitted new firearms and serious assault conspiracies linked to Waugh. The court added more than 11 years to his record, to run alongside his existing term. The logistics man, the go-between, received a punishment that reflected how critical that role is in any supply chain. What made this case stand out wasn't just the number of weapons. It was the way they were marketed. Waugh treated the encrypted platform like a storefront. Send a list, promise quick delivery, handle queries, widen the audience. When his broadcast went to more than 100 users, replies came back with the excitement you'd expect for a limited run product. It's a jarring contrast, ordinary sales language around items designed solely for force. The recovery efforts tell another part of the story. As the investigation widened, teams tracked and seized weapons and ammunition linked to the list. Finds included buried packages in gardens, stashed handguns with suppressors, rifles with spare magazines, and boxes of cartridges. Each recovery removed potential threats from circulation and added another piece to the timeline, connecting messages to movement. There's also the matter of money. Court documents described one shipment worth more than £200,000. Cash was seized during arrests in both Spain and the UK. The pattern is familiar in organised crime, where drugs and illegal firearms intersect, money laundering follows, and the proceeds get reinvested into the next run. In the chats, price wasn't just a number, it was the pitch. Why did the encrypted platform feel so safe to sellers like Waugh? Because it promised anonymity and self-destructing messages. But once investigators accessed the data, that same system produced a detailed record of contacts, orders, locations, and dates. The very thing users believed would arouse evidence turned into a ledger. When a network falls, years of conversations can become a single narrative in court. For communities, cases like this are about prevention. Each imported gun that doesn't reach a buyer is one less trigger in a dispute, one less threat used to force a payment, and one less headline no one wants to read. Investigations like this are long and rarely straightforward. They rely on cooperation across borders, patience with digital evidence, and the unglamorous work of matching a text to a real person on a real street. If you strip it back, the story is about 3 lines converging. First, a seller who decided to treat weapons as a business, hawking them via encrypted posts. Second, a logistics arm on home soil that turned inventory into deliveries. Third, an escalation mindset that didn't stop at sales, but moved into directing serious harm. Those lines met at a villa door in Spain, then again in a courtroom in Liverpool. The sentencing remarks landed hard because the risk was real. Gun crime isn't a blank phrase, it's about control, fear, and outcomes you can't take back. The judge said it plainly. The trade was calculated, not impulsive, sustained, not accidental. Even if you accept that there were others above Waugh, the list, the broadcasts, and the coordination placed him in a leading role. There's a warning here for anyone tempted by encrypted marketplaces. Distance, digital tools, and layers of contacts can create a feeling of invulnerability. But the logistics still run through actual places. Car parks, gardens, storage units, border crossings. Those are the points where mistakes happen, where surveillance watches, and where the chain breaks. As for the corrosive substance plot, the most important detail is that it didn't go ahead. The communications were serious enough for a jury. The arrest on the day it was meant to happen prevented a life-changing injury. It's a reminder that intervention is as much about stopping harm as it is about collecting evidence after the fact. For Waugh, the encrypted handle that once shielded him is now a footnote in a sentencing report. For Brazendale, the role of quartermaster carries years of consequences. And for the buyers who reacted to that broadcast list, the network they relied on is no longer their marketplace. If you're wondering, what changed the game? It wasn't one spectacular raid. It was the slow, coordinated grind of an international investigation. Decoding, tracing, arresting, and then patiently walking a court through messages and movements until the picture was clear. That's where this ends. A weapons catalogue is offline, a supply chain is broken, and a name that once lived behind an alias is attached to a term that will keep him out of the market for a very long time. Thanks for listening. If you want more UK cases where encrypted worlds collide with real streets, subscribe and tell me which investigation you want next.